was a time when they had you, when your presence was a constant, your loyalty unquestioned, your energy freely given. They never had to wonder where you stood because you were always there. You tolerated their neglect, their indifference, their casual betrayals, and they assumed you always would. People mistake consistency for permanence. They assume that just because something has always been, it always will be. And that is their fatal mistake. Because the day will come when you walk away, truly walk away, and they will be left scrambling through the ruins, looking for something that no longer exists. At first, they won't even realize you're gone. They'll still operate as if you're in the background, waiting, watching, available. They'll carry on, blind to the absence, convinced you'll come back, just like you always have. But then something will shift. Their words will echo in empty spaces. The laughter they took for granted will no longer answer. Their questions will meet silence, and slowly it will dawn on them. You are not coming back. And that is when the panic will set in. Because now they have to face the reality they spent so long avoiding. You were never replaceable. They will search for you in other people. They will chase after ghosts, hoping to find even a fraction of what they once had. But no matter where they look, no matter who they turn to, it will never be the same. Because it was never about the actions, the gestures, the conversations. It was about you, the way you carried yourself, the way you saw them, the way you understood them in a way no one else ever could. And they spent so much time believing you needed them that they never stopped to consider what would happen if they lost you. Regret is a slow poison. It doesn't strike all at once. It seeps in over time. At first, it will be small, manageable, a passing thought, a flicker of discomfort. But then it will grow. The moments they took for granted will start replaying in their minds. The way you laughed, the way you listened, the way you could read between the lines, sensing things before they were ever spoken. And as they scroll through old conversations, stare at places where you once stood, and hear your name in passing, it will hit them like a hammer. They had something real, and they let it slip. Say through their fingers. But by then, it will be too late. Time does not grant second chances to the ungrateful. The moment they assumed you would always be there was the moment they lost you. Because you did not leave on a whim. You did not disappear out of pettiness or spite. No, you waited. You gave them chances, more than they deserved. You swallowed your hurt. You adjusted your expectations. You held on long after you should have let go. But even the most patient soul has limits. And once that final line is crossed, once that last ounce of faith is extinguished, there is no going back. They will try to reach out. At first, casually, testing the waters, seeing if the door is still cracked open. But you have changed. You are no longer the person they thought they knew. You are colder now, wiser. You see through their words, their attempts to reel you back in, and you had no interest in repeating the same cycle. Because here's the truth. Some losses are meant to be permanent. Some doors are meant to stay shut. You were willing to give, to forgive, to understand. But now you are willing to walk away. And that is what they will never be able to accept. The finality of it. The fact that they can't undo what has been done. They will try to replace you, but every new person will be a shadow in comparison. They will search for your energy in others, only to be met with dull echoes of what once was. Because people like you, they don't come around twice. And when they do not stay where they are not valued. One day, they will sit in the spaces where you once existed and feel the weight of what they lost. They will replay old memories, trying to grasp at something that has long since slipped through their fingers. And they will understand, in the most painful way possible, that not all good things wait forever. That when someone like you chooses to leave, they do not look back. They do not hesitate. They do not return. People live under the illusion that everything in life is replaceable. A lost job can be replaced with another. A shattered object can be pieced back together or discarded for something new. Even people, especially people, are treated as interchangeable, as if the roles they play in our lives are just empty slots, waiting to be filled by the next available candidate. This belief is comforting, convenient. It allows people to take others for granted, to walk away without consequence, to convince themselves that no loss is permanent. They assume that if one connection fades, another will come along, just as fulfilling, just as deep. But real human connections do not work that way. They are not products on a shelf, identical in nature, ready to be swapped out at a moment's notice. And when someone who was irreplaceable is lost, the truth becomes undeniable. Certain energies cannot be replicated. At first, they will try to convince themselves otherwise. They will move forward as if nothing has changed, as if their world remains intact. They will seek out others, assuming that the warmth, the understanding, the depth they once had with you will simply appear again. They will enter new conversations expecting the same spark, the same familiarity, the same effortless rhythm. But something will feel off. Something will be missing. It will be subtle at first, an unspoken void, a quiet dissonance they can't quite place. And then, little by little, it will grow. The laughter won't sound the same. The conversations won't flow as easily. The comfort they took for granted in your presence will be nowhere to be found. They will try again and again. They will search through different faces, different voices, different souls, hoping to find a shadow of what they lost. But no matter how far they reach, no matter how many people they cycle through, it will always be the same. The energy is different. The connection is surface level. The depth, the authenticity, the feeling, none of it is there. Because human bonds are not just about words exchanged or time spent together. They are about something deeper, something intangible. The way your presence made them feel, the way your understanding made them safe, the way your energy fit into their world in a way nothing else ever had. And that is not something that can be found again, no matter how desperately they look. This realization will come to them slowly, creeping in like a cold wind through the cracks of a broken window. They will think of you at odd moments, in places where your presence once filled the space. A joke that no longer lands the same way. A song that feels hollow now that you are not there to sing along. A habit they picked up from you that now feels empty, without the person who made it meaningful. And soon, they will understand what they lost was not just a person. It was an experience, a presence, a force in their life that cannot be duplicated. But here's the cruelest part. By the time they realize all of this, by the time they finally see what they had, you will be gone. Not just physically, but in every way that matters. The version of you they knew no longer exists. The part of you that once tolerated them, waited for them, hoped for them, it has withered and died. Because you do not wait for people to understand your worth. You do not sit around hoping they will wake up before it's too late. You move forward. You evolve. You become something greater, something untouchable, something they can no longer reach. They will try to come back. Of course, they will. The realization of your absence will hit them with a force they never anticipated, and their instinct will be to fix it, to patch up the hole they ignored for so long. But the cruel truth about life is that not every mistake can be undone. Some losses are final. Some doors, once closed, do not open again. They will reach for you, only to find that the bridge they burned is now nothing but ash. They will search for the version of you that once loved them, once forgave them, once waited for them to change, and they will find nothing. And so, they will be left with the weight of their choices. They will be haunted by the memories of what once was, tortured by the knowledge that it could have been different had they only seen it sooner. But that is the price of taking someone irreplaceable for granted. That is the punishment for treating a rare connection as if it were common. They will keep searching, keep hoping, keep trying to fill the void. But deep down, they will know. People don't realize how deeply they've connected to something until it's gone. When someone becomes a constant presence in their life, their brain adjusts, rewires, and expects them to be there. Your voice, your mannerisms, your energy, it all becomes embedded in their subconscious, an unspoken comfort woven into their routine. They don't even think about it. It's just there. And so, when that presence vanishes, when the connection they took for granted is severed, something breaks inside them. Not in an instant, not in a dramatic moment of realization, but in a slow, gnawing way that eats at them over time. A craving cycle begins, a desperate attempt to replicate something that no longer exists. At first, they will deny it. The absence will feel strange, but they will tell themselves they are fine. They will fill the space with distractions, convincing themselves that life moves forward, as it always has. They will try to ignore the way they instinctively reach for their phone, expecting a message from you. They will suppress the urge to turn their head in a crowd, looking for a familiar face that is no longer there. They will tell themselves that everything is as it should be. But the mind does not let go so easily. The mind remembers, and without realizing it, they will start looking for you in places you no longer exist. Their brain, accustomed to the comfort of your presence, will seek substitutes. They will surround themselves with people, hoping to recreate the feeling they lost. They will engage in shallow conversations, searching for depth that no longer comes naturally. They will chase interactions that remind them of you, only to find that nothing feels quite right. Because it is not just the company they miss. It is you. The specific way your energy settled into their world. The way you understood them without effort. The way they never had to search for meaning when they were with you. And no matter where they look, no matter who they turn to, the replacements will fall short. That is when the frustration sets in. The realization that what they lost is not something they can simply find again. They will try to convince themselves that they are unaffected, that they are simply adjusting to a new normal. But deep in their subconscious, the craving remains. They will revisit old memories, retrace old conversations, replay your voice in their mind without meaning to. The human brain does not like losing patterns. It has grown accustomed to. And you are not just a presence. You were a pattern, a familiar rhythm in their life that made sense, that felt safe, that they never thought would disappear. But now, they are left with the withdrawal, and withdrawal is cruel. It does not strike all at once. It lingers. It appears in unexpected places, at unexpected times. A certain phrase will remind them of how you used to speak. A familiar setting will bring back memories they thought they had buried. They will hear something in passing, and for a split second, they will turn, expecting you to be there. And when they remember that you are not, it will sting in a way they cannot explain. By this point, they will try to fight it. They will go through phases: avoidance, distraction, replacement, anything to break the cycle of craving something they can no longer have. But the mind is relentless. It will continue to pull them back, making them compare every new experience to the one they lost. It will make them wonder what could have been, what should have been, had they not taken you for granted. Because that is the cruelest part of all, the realization that this suffering was avoidable, that you were right there, willing, present, offering something rare, and they let it slip away. Regret is an addiction of its own. Once it takes hold, it does not let go. It festers, growing stronger with time, feeding on the realization that what they lost cannot be undone. They will think about reaching out. Some will even try. But when they do, they will find that the connection they once had, the effortless familiarity, the unspoken trust, it is gone. And the version of you they crave no longer exists. Because you have moved on. You have evolved. You do not sit in the past, waiting for people to wake up. You are not a memory waiting to be revisited. You are a reality they can no longer touch. Every person carries a unique imprint, an emotional fingerprint that marks the subconscious in ways words never could. It's invisible, intangible, yet undeniable. Some people brush against your life and leave barely a trace, like footsteps washed away by the tide. Others, they leave something deeper, an imprint that settles into the fabric of your mind, woven into your experiences, shaping your emotions in ways you never fully understand until they are gone. And once they are, there is no replacing them, no substituting what they brought, no duplicating the connection they formed. Because just as no two fingerprints are the same, no two souls leave the same mark. People fail to realize this while they still have you. They assume that connection is just a matter of repetition. Find someone who speaks the same way, laughs at the same jokes, enjoys the same things, and the gap will close. But the human mind is not so easily tricked. A familiar voice does not carry the same warmth. A similar face does not evoke the same feeling. They will try to find your essence in others, but no matter how closely someone resembles you on the surface, the imprint is not there, because it was never just about shared moments. It was about the way you made them feel, the way your energy fit into their world in a way no one else ever could. That imprint is not something they noticed when you were present. It was background noise, subtle and constant, blending seamlessly into their life. They never paused to question why your presence felt like home, why your absence now feels like a hollow space that nothing quite fills. But once you are gone, once that subconscious imprint is left with no source, the emptiness begins to set in. They will walk into familiar places and feel something missing. They will hear a joke and instinctively turn to share it, only to remember you are not there. They will meet new people, and wonder why the connection feels thin, incomplete, and the realization will creep in. Some people cannot be replaced. It will haunt them in ways they never anticipated. At first, it will be small, a passing thought, a brief moment of discomfort. But then it will spread, growing in intensity. Their mind, conditioned by memory, will reach for something that no longer exists. And when it does not find you, it will keep searching over and over again, like an addict reaching for a high that will never hit the same way again. Because that's what true connection does. It changes you. It carves itself into your mind, shaping the way you experience everything that follows. And when it's ripped away, nothing feels quite right anymore. They will try to recreate it. Some will chase relationships that mimic the dynamic they once had with you. Others will dive into distractions, filling their time with meaningless conversations and temporary connections. But no matter how much they try to drown it out, the imprint remains. A shadow of what once was. A reminder of what could have been had they only valued it when they had the chance. Because this is the cruelest part of it all. You never truly know how much someone means to you until you are forced to live in their absence. And you are not waiting. You are not looking back. The version of you they remember no longer exists. Because when you left, you did not just walk away from them. You walked into yourself. You grew. You shed the skin of the person who once accepted less than they deserved. And now, you're untouchable, unrepeatable, gone in a way that no apology, no realization, no desperate attempt to reconnect can undo. That is the finality they will never accept. That no matter how much they search, no matter how many people they try to mold into the shape of what they lost, it will never be you. That imprint on their subconscious, it was a one-time mark, a fingerprint left on their soul, a presence that can never be replicated, no matter how hard they try. When a deep connection ends, something in the brain refuses to accept it. The mind, conditioned by habit, does not simply let go. It keeps searching, reaching, grasping for the patterns it once knew. It doesn't understand absence the way the conscious mind does. It only recognizes familiarity, the rhythm of conversations, the way certain words were spoken, the energy exchanged in silence. So it scans every new interaction, measuring, comparing, searching for echoes of what was lost. And no matter how many faces appear, no matter how many conversations unfold, one truth remains. The depth they once had is missing. At first, they won't fully realize it. They will tell themselves that life moves forward, that new people bring new experiences. They will engage, they will explore, they will attempt to replicate what once felt effortless. But something will always feel off. The laughter will sound different. The silences will lack comfort. The presence of another will never quite settle into the spaces where you once fit. It will be subtle at first, an unspoken sense of incompleteness. But the more they seek, the more obvious it will become. They lost something that cannot be duplicated. This is the tragedy of deep connection. The brain does not just forget. It is wired to recognize patterns, to seek familiarity in the chaos of human interaction. When someone meaningful disappears, the brain continues scanning for them, unconsciously evaluating every new person based on the imprint left behind. But no two connections are the same. And so, what follows is disappointment, endless, quiet, aching disappointment. A cycle of searching and failing, of hoping and realizing, of meeting someone new and feeling the weight of what's missing. They will try to move forward. They will convince themselves that this feeling is temporary, that someone else will eventually fill the space. But this is where they are mistaken, because what they lost was never just a person. It was a frequency, a connection uniquely their own, and frequencies cannot be replaced. You cannot force depth where it does not exist. You cannot manufacture familiarity, no matter how much you want to. The human mind knows the difference between something real and something forced. And once it has tasted real, anything less will always feel hollow. This realization will not come all at once. It will creep in slowly, through moments they never expected. In a conversation that feels too shallow. In a moment of laughter that lacks real warmth. In the absence of an unspoken understanding they once took for granted.